Hello, everyone. Welcome. It's Alicia Brashay here at Cosmic Gateway in conjunction with World Unity Week. And I'm super excited to present my next guest with me. I have Karie from Legacy of Love Constellations. She's a very, very dear soul sister of mine. We've worked together for many years, and this is the very first time we've sat down to do a recording. So, Karie, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. It's so good to see you. I feel like I haven't seen you in like years, and it's been like 2 weeks.
I know. I know.
What happened in 2 weeks, Alicia?
A lot, especially in this climate right now. It's so crazy. So a little bit of background. Karie and I came into contact, I think, about 3 or 4 years ago. It feels like eons and lifetimes ago. So Karie is a family constellation therapist, and we'll get her to talk a little bit more about her work and her journeying. It's incredibly empowering and powerful work that she does, primarily with clearing ancestral trauma. So diving deep, and we're going to finish off this segment with a sample of a constellation that I'm going to be leading. I'm going to be what's the word I'm looking for? I'm going to be
proxy. You're going to be the proxy.
I'm going to be the proxy, the demonstrator. So I highly recommend for this segment, as you're watching, for you to participate at the end and have a snippet of an experience that hopefully will be really empowering for you. So what you will need to do is go and get some paper and a pen. And if you can get probably 4 pieces of paper, A4 or half of A4 size, and a pen. And if you can have that handy for the end, that would be wonderful. Probably a glass of water too. So with that out the way, let's get down into some deep stuff. Do you want to talk a little bit about, what your journey was to get to doing this type of work? I know you haven't done that all your life and it was a big change for you. So.
Oh man, I don't even know where to begin. My journey has been, I feel like, I don't know if you ever felt that like this. I feel like I like take the long way around sometimes. Like I don't now because I'm in my path and my purpose, but like in my younger years, I legit feel like I took the long way around. So I am a clairvoyant, clairaudient, clarisentient, and I've been that way my whole life. So it wasn't trendy to have those gifts as a little one back in the 70s and the 80s. It was actually really frowned upon. So I really rejected my gifts until I was probably 23, 24. And then I started working with a big shaman teacher in Seattle who basically was like, you have no choice but to walk this path. And because I was 23 or 24, I rolled her pretty hard and ended up having a big corporate job and was like super type A, traveling the world for this company. I worked for a bank in information security. So I was a tech girl, worked with all men, engineers, love them, but like was like as left brain kind of 3D as you could get. And then I got super sick when I was 30. I had a near-death experience and had an extraordinary doctor who is definitely an angel of mine. He climbed into bed with me and was like, you were legit gonna die if you continue down the path that you're on. So I rolled him. I'm seeing a pattern with me with the long way around, Alicia. So I rolled him. I was super sick. I had pneumonia for 16 weeks. They told me I had lung cancer, which I didn't. Like all this stuff was going wrong with, the grief center of my being. Finally had the courage to resign from my job, one that I had been in for a very long time and I had been very successful at, and it had afforded me a beautiful life, or so I thought. I resigned, and then 4 days later, everything cleared up. So
I didn't know that part about your story.
I don't share that part much, but I've been asked a lot lately, and it's so in the rear view. Like it's been so long now since it happened, but it was obviously like so deeply traumatic, but literally 4 days later, just everything went away. And knock on wood, I haven't been sick since. But after that 4-day period, after it healed up, I spent 2 years rehabbing my lungs, and spirit kicked my ass and was like, you have no choice but to get on your path. So I moved to LA just on a whim. I had a dream. Spirit said, get in the car and go. So I got in the car and go. And then FCT found me probably 6 months later. I was on a webinar. I saw a little tiny thumbnail of this lady's face, and it was something completely took over my body. And I like DM'd that girl that I saw. She responded right away and was like, hey, I feel so connected to you. I do this thing called Family Constellation Therapy. I was like, I don't know what that is, but I need to do it at once. So then I ignored that calling for like 6 more months. And then I finally had a session, and oh my God, it changed my life literally within 2 hours. And it was just extraordinary work. And I felt so pulled to it. And then it was really interesting. I'm sure you have felt like this throughout your life too. Once I did my first session and I felt that draw, it was like everything in my life just started clicking into place. And I was like, oh my God, I have been asking about the ancestors since I could talk. I was always the kid that was like, so that dead person, like what's their story? What was their childhood? And nobody could answer me, or nobody probably wanted to answer me. So when Family Constellation found me, I was like, oh, this makes sense. It is rooted in ancestral trauma and all of the secrets and all of the things that nobody talks about. But it took me a while to get here. Yeah.
I'm so glad you've shared that part, because there was some surprises in there for me. And I think that the two things that really stand out is that, first of all, the way that my theory is always the way that the higher self communicates through us, through our body and illness. And when we do get on our path, how miracles can occur. I mean, that's phenomenal, obviously it was not an easy path for you, but in being able to switch and turn your life, and how things, realigned themselves just like that, is it's massive to show what's possible. And maybe someone needs to hear that right now, because hey, I can attest to that in so many different ways. And I think that sometimes when we are a bit resistant to our calling, the universe, as I like to say, bitch slaps us to get us.
I mean, seriously, it's so funny, Alicia, because I recently moved and I found a bunch of old journals. And so I opened this one journal, and this little piece of paper came out, and it was literally the notes from my very first session with my shaman teacher when I was like 23 or 24. I mean, decades ago. And I read it and was sitting on the couch and was like, holy shit, literally everything happened. And I was like, oh, I wish my little 23-year-old brain would have listened, and like probably would have been a little gentler path. But I love what you said about the higher self and the soul really leading us and speaking to us. So the doctor's name was Dr. Ian. So when I moved to LA, probably 5, 6, 7 years in, there was a car that would park on my street maybe once or twice a year, but the license plate said Dr. Ian. And so it was always on days where I was just like, oh, this path is hard. And then the little Dr. Ian car would roll up, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to keep going. So yeah, I always tell my clients, I'm like, when spirit is like knocking on your door and telling you to make changes, make it before they stick their foot like completely in your ass and do it for you. Because it's just, it was 10 times probably harder than it needed to be.
It's a great reflection piece, and I'm so glad that you brought that up, because I think right now, in the time, like the energetic space that we're in, so many people are having that calling and being pushed to extreme limits. And it's nice to hear someone's journeying on the other side of that. And no doubt, you still have your challenges, and we get on a call every now and then, and we have a little session to talk about how challenging the energies have been, or whatever. We're not painting a perfect picture, but I think it's, as one of my very first teachers said to me, once you open the door to this world, it doesn't necessarily make life easier, but it makes life better. And that was, was always a phrase that stuck in my head. I was like, why would I do it if it's not going to make my life easier? But I understand now, in the sense of better in terms of the fulfillment and these amazing experiences and connections. You know, I know that this path, if I hadn't been on this path, I wouldn't have come across you, and you know, the beauty that comes with that. So I'm so glad that you shared that. But the other thing that I'm really curious about what you said was how, you know, in the reflection piece and looking back, how, you know, your curiosity even as a child in terms of ancestral aspects was there. It was almost like that, what the space that you work in. And just to clarify, you know, Karie does not just constellation therapy, that's an aspect of the amazing work that she does. You know, she uses all of her intuitive insights and gifts and abilities to be a powerhouse. And you know, I always talk about how when practitioners work, it's really an extension of their energy and their level of attainment and energy embodiment, and how they, you know, gift that to facilitate healing within others. And you're certainly a testament to that. But I mean, how curious and how amazing is it to look back and go, wow, that was like that was a calling from a long time ago. That
Yeah, it's funny. My mom and I have been talking about it lately. She found some like books that I wrote in her hope chest when I was in like the second or the third grade. I sent it to you because I was so like, oh my God, this is proof that I have been this way my whole life. Like I was literally writing about spirit, talking about rainbows and like different portals and like, I mean, back in the like early 80s. And so how I look back with such fondness now because I started having dreams about my dad's grandmother who died like 6 months before I was born. And there was this story that I didn't know actually until I was older, but my mom went to say goodbye to her in the hospital and she was pregnant with me. And she rubbed my mom's belly and said, take care of her, she's special. So then I started having dreams about this woman whose name was Opal. And then my dad would always buy me opals as a little kid because it was my birthstone. Like I was just deeply, deeply, deeply connected to this woman, but nobody in my family talked about anything. So I would have these dreams. She would give me information. And I'd be like, hey guys, like this old lady told me XYZ. So I mean, from as long as I can remember, I literally have been so connected to them and so curious about the inner workings of our family and everyone else's family.
it's so incredible, and I love talking to you because more and more stories come out. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
that's
Because you and I are normally talking when it's like SOS and we're tired and we're like on the floor and we're, you know, mascara down the face.
believe me, it happens.
I know, just keep going, people. You got this. I know, it's funny. I was working with a spiritual teacher that I have that's, I was telling you this, like late 80s, which it's such a massive gift to work with elders. And I just deeply wish I would have found these women earlier. But we were talking and I was like, gosh, I have so much compassion for people that are waking up amidst just chaos. It's like, oh man, as challenging as it was to have these gifts when you felt like nobody had them and nobody talked about them, I'm really grateful that I kind of had that foundation walking into everything that's going on right now. I don't know, do you feel that way too? Because I know you've had your gifts for a long time.
Yeah, and I've had a lot of reflection recently about different experiences in my life and how it's supported me to hold through
Yeah.
the experiences now that are happening in my personal life, but also on a global level, you know, energetic influxes and how that affects the body and the things that we go through. And I think it was going back maybe about a month ago, and there was some intense things going on energetically that I was feeling dizzy and spacey, and like I was driving. You know, when you're driving, you're like, just focus on the road. and I thought to myself, I'm so glad that I've been going through this for as long as I have, even when part of it was unconscious, because it really has prepped and primed me to navigate through this space right now, and to be able to support others too.
I was just gonna say, yeah, I'm so grateful that you're always so steady, even when it fluctuates. No, you really are. So I'm like, just want to mirror back to you of like, you are such a powerhouse and we're so lucky to have you. So lucky to have you. I send all the people to you. Like, here, go. She'll help you. So yeah.
So thank you. That was really lovely. Do you want to talk, for those who aren't familiar with family constellation therapy, do you want to give just a brief overview of like what that is and what that entails? I know that you probably work a little bit outside the parameters than most practitioners. I imagine that's my impression.
My impression too. I've actually had a handful of people lately, because I don't know a lot of family constellation practitioners in the States. Like it's much, I
In
think more,
Europe,
it's much more mainstream like in Europe, and it's just now kind of coming to the States, even though I've been doing it for a decade. So I only know a handful of other practitioners, and I'll have people come and be like, hey, I saw so and so in Canada or whatever, and like, what are you doing versus them? But I think it's, I I I think it's my connection to spirit that, I don't know. So everyone's probably heard of intergenerational trauma, or multi-generational trauma. I feel like it's kind of a buzzword in the last couple of years. And so they have finally figured out, yay science, that trauma is passed down, which we already knew, from generation to generation. So on a cellular level, we could be carrying memories, emotions, trauma within the cells. So what family constellation therapy does, it's predominantly done in big groups of people. And so we can use you as an example. So let's say you came and said, hey, I want to work on an issue with my mom. You would actually kind of sit on the sidelines, and then someone would stand in what they call a morphogenic field, which is just basically the consciousness of your entire family system. They call it the knowing field, which I think is really beautiful. We actually don't need to kind of know the story. The field really reflects like what's stuck. That's my favorite part. That part blew my mind, because oftentimes I see this a lot. I mean, my schedule, Alicia. I see an extraordinary amount of people. I'm so lucky that people trust me to go into their family systems, but people will come and they'll say, oh, I know a lot about like my mom's side. I don't know anything about my dad's side, which was totally my experience. I grew up with my dad's side. I knew very little about my mom's side. And so when you put people in the field, everything comes up. So someone would stand in, represent mom, dad, money. They call it aspect work, where you can literally put in anything, which is really beautiful. And I think that that's a great way to see how you're responding to the energy of money or trauma or PTSD or whatever. So in group work, the people that stand in and represent the energy of your parents would just stand in the field, and they would feel what's coming up. So sometimes you can feel pain in the body. You can get really emotional and not know why. You can get dizzy. You can get throat sick. Sometimes you can stand in the field and feel nothing. I've done, honestly, probably 3,000 of these. I find that if you don't feel anything, and just in my experience, it's that there's a lot of repressed emotion in the family system, and or there's a lot of addiction that is stuck, which in our parents, grandparents generation, there's both. So that's part one. And then part two, in order to clear the energy, you would then step in and face mom, dad, money, whatever. And then the practitioner, they call them healing statements or truth statements, say short, choppy little sentences, and then you would repeat after me. So that's typically, I just close my eyes, tap on my chest, channel spirit, and then I always tell people it's like a hose on kinks, and everything kind of comes up and out. So obviously, in the age of pandemic, we're not doing groups. So I've been doing groups online via Zoom, which is really, really powerful. So that's why we have people stand on paper. So the paper is just going to represent mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, war, whatever. But it's really, really beautiful, powerful work, as you know. You and I have done quite a few constellations together.
And the beautiful thing about the collaborations that I have on World Unity Week are bringing people on who have been profound in my own journey, and I want to share that and give that with everyone else. And you've done a few constellations on me over the years, and I know the profound effects that they've had in my life, and the catalyst for change and getting to the core root of different issues that maybe my mind can't comprehend, but it comes up within the field. And you know what keeps coming to me? It was that session that we did. I don't know if it was the last one, but I was re-experiencing someone being shot with an arrow and it wounded. Do you remember?
Oh, yeah.
And all of a sudden I had this image and I had like the physical pain of someone shooting me with an arrow in the heart. And and you were like, it's okay, just step out of the field, sit, breathe. And I was just like, the realness of it, the recreate, I mean, that's not going to be everyone's experience. I mean, I probably feel things that I'm a little bit more sensitive than the average person, but I mean, it was temporary, it went away, but like to have that recreated of that point of trauma that we were working with was so intensely real in that moment. That blew me away. That experience, that snippet of experience blew me away in how powerful this is.
So happy you brought that up, because a lot of times, especially if you Google family I don't really recommend Googling it. There's weird shit out there about it, but yeah. But
there's weird shit for everything.
I know there's weird shit for everything, right? But they say like, oh, you're acting. And I'm like, there is no way for you to fake anything that shows up in the morphogenic field. I was in a group constellation. I was actually a participant, they call them representatives. So I was a representative, and it was actually in New York. And my teacher put me in. And the second, literally, Alicia, the second my feet stepped into the center of the morphogenic field, I was like, oh, I just got shot in the head. And it was like you, where it dropped my body. And like, I've never felt pain like that. And then the girl started weeping. Her grandfather got shot in the head during World War II, but nobody talked about it. So it got stuck. So here's this person in her 30s or 40s having all of these issues, not knowing they don't actually belong to her. So that's the beautiful part, is my work really just brings the unconscious into the conscious, which is so cool. Yeah. Which is the point of healing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think beautifully said there. Yeah, bringing the unconscious into the conscious. And let's face it, I mean, some people are quite, I mean, I know a lot about my family history because people in my family have researched it. And I always say, whether it's true or not, this is what they've said about my mum's side of because, stories get passed down, and really like, but, not everyone has that experience of knowing what has happened in their family and intergenerational, because a lot of it's swept under the carpet. And that's where the problem lies, isn't it? That's where the energies would get stuck in. And then that pattern sort of, do you see it as like that pattern or trauma I see it as like a knot because you talk about the hose.
Yeah.
Does it build pressure and get like more exacerbated when it's not kind of looked at as we carry it on
Yeah, I think that's how it gets passed down and passed down and passed down. I just did a workshop recently, and I shared just a little bit about kind of my experience with family constellation therapy. And I was sharing that I have felt trapped my whole life, but I didn't know why. I wasn't trapped in my childhood. I had no conscious reason to feel this way, but it at times like felt like life or death to me. And so I would go to therapists, I would go to healers, and I'd be like, I feel like I'm in a suit that is not mine. And everybody was just like, okay, lady. And so in my constellation, my very first constellation, there were just 3 papers. You don't know what you're standing on. They do blind constellations. And so I remember it was like one paper was kind of in the corner, one was in the center, and one was like hiding in the room under my bed. So I went to the paper in the center of the entire constellation and was like, this is how I have felt my whole life. And I was on the phone. So I was like, can you hold on for a second? And I put the phone down and like literally mimed unzipping a suit, took it off, and then was like, oh, I feel like myself. But it was my grandmother who died in a very tragic way. And I was like 3 or 4. Nobody ever talked about it. Like, and it was like the ghost that haunted our family. Like it was insane. So yeah, I think those knots, they get tighter and tighter and tighter until somebody has the courage, like like the pattern breakers, the black sheeps. I get asked that question a lot. Like, I'm the outsider, I'm the black sheep. I'm like, congratulations, you're the one that's here. clean up all this stuff, you know. And I
Right.
think just even a little, like, really unkinking, a little relieving of that pressure, I mean, it rippled out into my family,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've seen that in my own experience with working with you, how the flow on effect went to my parents, went to, it, that ripple effect does um, go further than just your own experience too.
That's one of my favorite parts.
Mm.
It's just so exciting to me to see. And again, I have the privilege of working with so many people, and it's like the fun stories that I hear after. Because I always tell people, my work's hard. I mean, my work's hard. So I'm like, if you have the courage to show up and do it, it kind of does the work for you. But it's not easy to face kind of unspeakable traumas, whether you know what they are or not, but then to see the aftermath of that light just rippling out within your family and then everyone you come in contact with, so extraordinary.
There's nothing better. There's nothing more fulfilling than being able to see that level of transformation. It's just amazing.
Yeah, I
And
know.
I think that's like the crux of why I feel that your work is so important, this type of work, all healing work, but what you do, because a lot of us have incarnated onto the chaotic times right now to to be those code breakers and those breakers of that intergenerational patterning, so that it doesn't continue into new earth, it doesn't continue into bringing in new earth children into the world. I think that's why your work is so powerful and palpable, because a lot of star seeds, a lot of people who have volunteered to come here from the vast realms of the cosmos are the ones that have raised their hand because they have the strength to be able to endure breaking the ancestral trauma lineage within family systems. And I think that's how it ties in from my perspective, because I often see, I use the word for star seeds, but light workers, whatever terminology you want to bring. You always see that sort of repeated scenario where they are born into a very traumatized family, have a very traumatized upbringing, a lot of early childhood trauma, unspeakable things that they endure, and then they go through this sort of traumatized early part of their life to then get to a catalyst point to then start to unravel and go through the deep healing. And as they do that work, it really does change it. The buck stops with that person. It doesn't move forward into the new lineages that are coming through on the planet. And I don't know, this is my own thoughts, but please correct me. But it also sends healing back to the generations that have come before us that have been tied up in these karmic cycles and these traumas and these, it's big stuff.
It's big stuff. I always shared too, like I grew up in a family with a lot of love, but a lot of unconscious loyalty to keep your head down, you work hard. One of my spiritual teachers, who's 77, the other day was like, you absolutely do things the hard way. I kind of laughed because I was like, I think she was expecting me to kind of contest it, and I was like, no, I totally do, because it's such a program in my family and it's one I've worked really hard on, but it was good for me to see that it's still showing up. um but I was the kid that was like, why are we doing this? Why are we, like, I was the kid that asked the questions, or I was the kid that told the truth. So I wasn't favored a lot because I was the one that was like, this doesn't make sense to me. And I heard a lot as a little kid, like, basically like, it's in your DNA, like you're fucked kind of thing. And it never ever sat with me. And then when all the epigenetic stuff started coming out, I was like, I told you people, like that's the awesome part with my work too, is it's like, even if there is some genetic whatever disease or addiction, or like,
Yeah.
your environment, your stress, your trauma can express that gene on or off. So I have seen people come to me and they've had third generation, whatever, autoimmune stuff, they start cleaning up their trauma and the gene goes off. Like, I mean, it's just, it's so extraordinary. It's, yeah. It's like, I wish we were at a level collectively where we could have had this back in the day. You know, I mean, I'm grateful that it's available to us now and now we can all receive it, but.
So, oh my God, I love those stories. And I know you can't go into personal client stories, but is there like an overview of some of the highlights that have just been those moments of awe for you over the years that you've been doing this?
Oh gosh, there are so many. And I kind of laugh because again, I have one of those souls where it just never occurred to me to stop. I think you're like that too, where it's like, even if I feel like shit and I feel like I'm going to die, I just keep going. Which again, I don't know if that's helpful or not. So I have a tendency to attract really hardcore clients, like really serious, like unspeakable trauma. So I feel like I deal with really complicated constellations. It's rare for me to get one that's easy, honestly. But there was one, gosh, probably six. God, there's so many, Alicia. I actually just had one the other day. I got this text and it was just a picture of a baby. It's going to make me cry. And it literally said, I couldn't have gotten here without you. And it was from a guy. So it was like, by the time he came to me, he was almost 40, had only had like 6-month relationships, massive anxiety, crippling self-doubt, insecurities, like, and there was something in me that was like, dude, you don't have to live this way. Like, we're going to do this weird thing. And he was like, you are loco. And so he rolled with me and we just did constellations and we cleaned all this shit up and he got married and had a baby and like is wildly successful and living a life that he finally feels at home in. And it's like, those stories are so exciting to me. But there was one
cry.
I know. It was funny too. What's crazy is like the day before I got the text, I was thinking about him. And then I got the text the next day and I was like, oh man, this work is so beautiful. But like 6 or 7 years ago, I had a client who suffered really, really, really horrific abuse from her dad in oftentimes when I'm in the morphogenic field, I'll get messages. And so I started to kind of get anxious towards the end of her session because I knew he was going to reach out. And she was like, Karie, there is no physical way. He doesn't know my name. He doesn't know, like, she had to change her name, like really crazy shit, right? Hadn't talked to him in 25 years. The next day, less than 24 hours later, Alicia, he found her on Instagram, sent her a private message, didn't want anything, but just finally took responsibility for everything. And like went kind of age by age of where he had harmed her and apologized. Like, I mean, it's like shit you can't explain that happens after. And that's my favorite part. That part's so fun. Yeah.
It's just a testament of how working in energy ultimately can have such a profound, powerful effect in every aspect of our physical existence, because it works very multidimensionally, doesn't it? I mean, when you're working with energies and generations and, you know, people who have passed, but how it all pertains to right here, right now. And
and just how connected we are. I mean, when you and I were doing the transmissions,
I was about to bring that up. Yeah.
Remember? And I had that really scary dream when we were working on the masculines. And so I had this dream, which is hilarious. Like basically like the matrix collapsing, especially for the patriarchy and the masculine energy. And then some really scary shit happened. And I was just totally like, whatever. And then you popped in and were like, you're in trouble. Do this, and this. So I'm like, man, this work is so cool.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up because Karie and I, for a long time, we used to run monthly transmissions together. We haven't done it in a while, but I'd like to bring that back at some point when we have a spare moment in our schedule.
Our schedules don't always line up.
No, and time zones and all that, but the work that we did in those transmissions was such a potent, powerful combination. And you know, we did a lot of work working with the masculine, feminine, and sacred partnerships and things like that. And you know, it was just a testament how you could just throw whatever in the field that was relevant at that time, and the transformations everyone went through in those transmissions, and you know, and we would back and forth because you would have these wild experiences, and we'd tag team it and works.
I mean, it's funny because especially with new clients, like over communicate. I over communicate about the process, which I'm sure is super annoying because there is literally no way to prepare you for what will happen in the morphogen field. I just did a workshop a couple weeks ago, which is really extraordinary. We did this roots of healing, really deep ancestral, psychological, and then spiritual core kind of healing. So I finished the workshop with a group Constellation, and everyone was like, yeah, lady, like I'm gonna stand on paper in my living room on Zoom, like, okay. And then it was 55 people moving and crying and like, you know, because it's weird to stand on paper in your home and then like feel something from 3 generations ago, you know. So yeah.
I remember the first time I did it with you, I was like, you want me to get paper for what? Like, I was like,
and then you're just like thrown about on your paper and you're like, okay. And the hangover effect after FCT is real, after Family Constellation Therapy is real. I call them FCT hangovers. Like you literally can feel like you've been hit by a truck. Like you can get joint pain. I slept 15 hours after my first one. You can get really emotional. You can get crazy hungry. Like, yeah.
I remember my first one because you said that to me, and I often say that to my clients, you know, give yourself a couple of days. I know Joe says BQH hangovers, you know, it's a real thing, right? When you're working this energy work at a high level. And I remember after our first session, you told me that, and I literally went and got food and I just hibernated in my bed.
And you'll sometimes crave like little kid food. You'll crave
I did.
like, yeah, like I had a client who was like a 20-year vegan. She was like, Karie, it was like something overtook my car and I drove to McDonald's and I got a cheeseburger and a fry and then she went back to her regular eating program the next day, but she was like, I literally could not stop myself. So I always warn people about that part because sometimes people get really triggered by the food part, but yeah. I
am sure I was going for a happy meal.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah.
Childhood comfort food.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. It's funny too. I know you have doggies. They love it. I've had so many constellations lately where the animals will come in and they will literally pick the most traumatized paper. They will pick the trauma where I put in kind of all the shit and they will sit on it and or they will like lay on it and like or they'll go like protect their person. I mean, it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful.
Oh my God, that makes my heart melt because I know that animals are such transmuters, and you know they go through what we go through and they help stabilize, you know, and transmute energies, and they're so sensitive and they're so affected. And I often joke because obviously I've got Luna and Ari and my 2 huskies, and they were literally, I laugh about this all the time. They were literally born like 2 or 3 days after an Arcturine portal opened on the planet. So I call them my little Arcturines in fur. And it's so true. And you know, talking about just keep going, you know, on a personal side note, I'm riding on very minimal sleep right now. I haven't slept in a few days because I've had Ari in emergency surgery, and he's right here with me and he's resting and recovering and he's doing fantastically well. But it's interesting how when I go through things, it doesn't surprise me at all that they would do that in the constellations, because animals just, they know, you know, and you know, they're so intelligent. And I'm just going to share this little snippet story. So Ari had a abscess that erupted and burst late last night. And when it happened, he came to me and then he took himself to the car and sat at the car. I mean, that was just, my little magical boy, man. He has bounced back over so many things.
I feel that way with him every time I talk to you. When he's gone through something, I was like, he is, which seems like a lot lately. I'm like, he's fine. Like 24 hours later, it's bananas.
I know.
I know he loves the energy work, you know, but yeah.
Oh, does
He
he
has the
what?
trust in it. Yeah.
You know, it's been an amazing group effort, and everyone pulls together when he's going through something. And poor little man, I think he's been in a lot of pain for a week. And he just has such a high pain threshold. And I was sort of oh my God, we're going on a tangent here, but there is a question in there, so bear with me. And just, I mean, all the medical stuff that I've been through with him in the last, 18 months has been phenomenal, because each time the medical world has basically said, he's a 12-year-old husky, he's got diabetes, no, he has the resilience, you know, and just talking about, like, we need to find new ways of we're finding all these new ways for healing for humans, and cleaning up ancestral trauma and stuff like that. We need to find new ways for healing for animals, um and and then, like, my mom went, can we, like, throw a dog in a field?
Yeah.
I mean,
No, I was just thinking that because when I had everything that happened with my lungs, the day that I had to go to the ER, I was having my first acupuncture session ever. And then they had to call everyone because I was not in a state. And so they called and had canceled, but I started seeing her like 2 to 3 times a week for years because it took 2 years to rehab my lungs. Like I was really sick. Now I kind of look back and I'm like, oh my God, that was really scary. Because going through it, you're just trying to like survive, right? And my whole life was being deconstructed. But after the 2 years, I got a little bulldog, got a little English bulldog, because I was like, okay, I'm gonna just see if I can like partner with this little dude, and who ended up becoming my REM. But he was sick from the time I got him. But the acupuncturist would do acupuncture and Reiki and Chinese medicine on him, and I don't know how many times they told me that dog was going to die, and then I would do some Eastern whatever. Like I took him to shamans. I took that boy to everyone, and I mean I only had him 3.5 years, but he probably would have been dead like the first 6 months had I not just like had him try all of these things, which he loved. Like he started having seizures, and the vets were like, we're gonna put him on this medicine and he'll never be the same. He'll be a completely different personality, which just that was what made him so extraordinary. So I took him to a shaman. And then, yeah. And then I took him and the shaman was a vet too, which was just, I mean, God, yeah, it was just, she was the one that ended up putting him down, and it was just the most sacred thing I think I've ever been through. But I'm like, they feel it. They're way more sensitive than we are. They're little walkers between worlds. So yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Once again, something I didn't know about you.
Yeah.
We need to talk off camera, because I'm brainstorming at the moment about how I can create something holistic for animals moving forward.
Yeah.
It's needed. It's so
It's
needed.
so needed. It's so needed. And I would often just go into kind of a channeled state and ask Marley's higher self or soul or whatever, like, hey dude, tell me what to do, because I don't know what to do and I'm exhausting just everything. Nobody could give me answers. And when he started having the seizures, which were really, really scary, and he was like, my body needs blah, 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 or like, I respond to this energy treatment, and then I would go take him and he would just like bounce right back. It was crazy. So cool.
It's so amazing what's possible when you can tune in and be guided and led by that and work with energy. I mean, I was reflecting last night, waiting to pick Ari up, about all the medical procedures I've been through with all my dogs, and all the diagnosis and and I went on a quest like you did, finding acupuncturists and Chinese herbalists, and there are some great practitioners out there, but I feel like we need to pull them all together in this resource pool, so that, yeah, anyway, it's a whole other.
God, I love it.
Well, we love animals.
I know.
What can we say? Now, shortly we're going to go and get into it's just going to be a very short sample of a constellation that I'm going to demonstrate. Oh Lord.
Our fearless proxy. So grateful.
So if you're still following with us, or if you've just jumped on, make sure you have a couple of pieces of paper handy and a pen, glass of water, and we're going to number them 1 to.
Yeah, we'll number them. I don't know yet the sequence. It'll just take me a second to set it up whenever you want to do it. But yeah, but we'll need 4 pieces of paper.
4 pieces. Okay, 4 pieces of paper, and if you can number each piece 1 to 4, and then we'll get into it. So this is a bit of a statement here. Bear with us. So Karie does all sorts of magical things in constellations and her work. Like, there is nothing this woman cannot do. But this is going to be a very first.
God, I'm excited to see what comes out.
This is experimental, and I'm raising my hand as I like to volunteer for the wildest, craziest stuff. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing a constellation, looking to bring wholeness and unity within your own energy, within yourself in this now moment. And we're going to be looking at different aspects of unity and separation, being that it's World Unity Week. And we're going to be looking at 2 very interesting things, and this is big in my work, about human, like earthly ancestral lineage, and we're going to also be looking at galactic lineage. So, you know, it's been a big part of my journey, and I see a lot of other people, is that you start to clear up your own family ancestral stuff, and then you start to then tap into the galactic lineage. You know, it can come in any way, and it's very unique to each person's soul journey. Some people don't have that lineage and others do. But you know, with the theme, the galactic theme for World Unity Week, I thought we would try something to look at you know, earth lineage that we carry through our bloodline, through our DNA, but also DNA on a multidimensional level, looking beyond into the greater cosmos. Because, you know, a lot of people that I work with, myself included, have lived out different lifetimes on different planes of existence, you know, and have trauma from, you know, galactic wars, or, you know, things that have happened throughout, you know, the creation of the cosmos, basically. So this is going to be interesting. And I'm glad, huh?
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I'm just going to say, and I'm glad I've got nothing else on for the rest of the day, because
I know, I feel like you're taking one for the team.
that's all right. I'm happy to.
Have you gone into your galactic history and, like, okay, have
Yeah.
you, do you know what some of those traumas are? I'm assuming.
Yeah, I've done a lot of work of that. That's been quite a theme for me and clients over the last couple of months. So I do know a bit. Yeah, I'm not going in completely blind.
Oh, that's awesome. I am on that side, so I'm excited to see what will come up. You know. Yeah.
Is there any anything that you want to run through before we get into that?
No, what room are you in? That's the only thing I need to know.
Oh, I'm in my living room.
Okay. So the people that are watching or joining, they'll just need to have enough space to kind of move around. But yeah, if you want to get your paper, it's just going to take me a second to set everything up.
We'll come back. So please have your paper ready, and we will go through this constellation all together. Okay, we are back. I have turned around my camera so that you can watch me go through this process. So if everyone has their 4 pieces of paper, and we're going to start the mini constellation. I'll hand it over to you.
Before we get going, what I want people to do is really call in their family, and we can call in your galactic family too. So for your earth ancestral lineage bloodline, I want you to see or feel your dad over your right shoulder and his entire line behind him. Mom over left shoulder, her entire line behind her. And then your galactic family, you can put them behind you. Oftentimes they will kind of stand in like an arc. They will be in the very, very back next to who you believe created you. So I really want you to call them in and just get really grounded. And then I am going to open the field. This is going to be wild, you guys. It's going to be wild. This is weird. So there's somebody watching, or somebody that's going to be watching, that's a J name. So it feels like John or Jacob. Spirit said that his grandfather on the paternal side has World War II trauma that needs to clear, that's affecting him. They normally won't make me like spout stuff out, but it feels like it's really, really, really affecting him. So just look into it. Okay, so the field's open. So now what you're going to do, you're going to take your papers and you're going to place them anywhere on the floor in the room that you're in. And then just let me know when you're done.
Bear with me.
You're a trooper, Alicia.
Oh my God.
What you do for humanity is just, it's never lost on me. So thank you.
I can't believe I'm doing this on like next to no sleep for days. But, you know, maybe it's meant to be that way.
Okay.
All right.
Can you show me where they're at, hun?
Yeah. So I'm just gonna. Can you see that?
Okay. Okay. So the one in the back on the right hand side, if you're facing me, what number is that?
This one here.
Yeah.
2.
Okay. And then to the left of that is what number? Your left? No, your left.
Sorry, here. 3.
Okay, perfect. And then in front of 3?
1.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Okay, give me 1 second. I'm a crier, you guys. This is amazing. Oh my gosh, I already know like where it's stuck. Okay, so when you look at this, Alicia, which one do you want to stand on first? Number 1?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So go stand on number 1 and just kind of hang out here for a second and just let's see how you feel. You might notice some rocking in your body.
I feel kind of dizzy, like swirly.
Yeah.
Like lightheaded, like almost swirling in a clockwise direction.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm just swaying back and forth. It feels light.
Okay. Sorry, I think we have a little delay. Was it immediate when you stood on it? Did you start rocking immediately? Okay. How does the rest of your body feel? Any tightness, heaviness, constriction anywhere?
In the hips a little bit.
What does it feel like?
Back. Just feels tight, heavy, a little bit in the back. Okay.
Does anything feel weighted, pulled to the ground, heavy? Shoulders, hips, knees down?
Shoulder and chest, like my heart feels, I can feel my heart quite, like a pulling sensation.
Down?
Yeah.
Any emotion on this one?
Not really.
Okay. Do you feel neutral or do you feel checked out?
I would say nothing, like void.
Okay. And then 4 is to the right of you, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. The way you're standing, because you look angled, are you facing it?
Yeah.
Okay. So give me 1 second. So just really focus on number 4. Really look at it with your eyes. And just tell me if anything comes up in your body or if any emotion comes up.
Feel a shift in my heart. To be honest, the emotion that I feel is love. Like I feel a lot of love, like openness, expansiveness, and love.
Okay, So go ahead and turn around on your paper and face number 3. And just tell me what happens if anything comes up in your body or if any emotion comes up.
I don't want to look at it.
What's coming up?
Feels creepy.
Oh my God, I love it.
Like spider creepy. You know when like there's spider in that kind of.
I don't do spiders. Does anything feel tight, heavy, pulled down? Are you rocking at all when you look at it?
No, I just want to turn away.
Yeah. Okay. And then look at number 2 and really focus on 2 with your eyes if you can. And tell me what happens.
There's a serene peacefulness or a curiosity.
Mm-hmm. Any rocking forward, back, side to side, little circle?
Yeah, little circles.
Okay, perfect. Okay, how about this one? And then where do you want to go next?
I'll go to 2. I'm curious.
Okay. So go ahead and stand on 2 and then just, tell me which way you're facing. Okay, perfect. So you're facing 4, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Just kind of hang here for a second and see how your body feels.
I'm being pulled forward. Ooh.
Towards any number or just okay. Just take a step forward towards it and just let's see what happens.
Ooh.
What happened?
Wow. It's like I sunk into a balanced space, and I can see all these lights and circles all around me. Like almost sacred geometry. Everything just kind of went, whew.
Does that feel okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Any rocking in the body, forward, back, side to side, little circle?
No, I'm pretty solid now.
So you feel more stable being
I
closer?
feel a lot more stable, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Like balance, yeah. Grounded.
Any emotion, Alicia?
No emotion, but my sense of smell has just really heightened all of a sudden.
Is there any
Sorry.
You're making a squidgy face. Is there anything specific that's coming up with this sense of smell?
Just in my environment. It's like all of a sudden I can smell everything heightened.
Yeah.
So to summarize, I guess general heightened sensitivity I'm experiencing.
Okay, hop off this one. How are you doing so far? You okay?
Yep.
Okay, so we have 3 and 4 left. Where would you like to go next?
4, thanks. Do I have to stand on 3? I don't even want to go near it.
Or 3. 3. Nobody likes 3. Nobody's gonna like 3. So okay, so go to number 4.
Or should I go to 3 first?
No, if your instinct was to not, go to 4. Yeah. Okay. I'm just teasing. There's always one paper that gets a bad rap. What came up?
I just feel like in peace, in bliss, in comfort, in being held, like in a space of being held. I just keep hearing the words, nothing can touch you. Like ultimate safety and like protection and love. It's almost like I feel wings or etheric wings being wrapped, like encompassed.
Mhm.
It's just that feeling of being held in a safe space.
How does your body feel in that space?
I can feel like slight tremor vibrations running through my legs.
Is it hips down, knees down, quads, like
Quads,
okay.
but I can also feel it in my chest, in my arms, like that kind of vibrational shaking feeling.
Besides the slight tremor and the rock forward and back, any side to side movement, any circular motion?
Slightly back and forward.
Okay. Are you aware of any of the other papers around you, or do you feel like you're only aware of the paper that you're on? Yeah. Okay. So just look at number 1, Alicia, and just focus on it with your eyes and just tell me if anything comes up in your body or if any emotion.
Response is, nah.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So feel into that, like, and see what comes up. And just let your body all tell you.
Almost like a dismissal. Like,
yeah. Okay. And then go ahead and look at number 2. So turn on your paper and focus on 2. And just see if there's anything that comes up in your body or if any emotion comes up.
when I look at 2, I'm like curious. Like I keep looking at like curious, like observer.
Yeah. Okay. And then how about 3?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Nobody likes 3. Okay. So go to 3. And then I'll tell you.
Do I have to stand on it? Can I stand?
Yeah, you have to stand on it. I won't keep you there long. But you have, if you can stand on it just for a few seconds. I hope we're not blowing people up at home. Oh man. What's happening? Yeah.
Being like isolated and like almost enslaved. I feel like my body is frozen and I can't move.
Is that immobility? Is it from shoulders down, hips down, knees down? Is it all over?
All over. Like I'm clutching my top of my pants with my fist, and it's creating like a really tightly clenched fist.
Yeah.
But I feel like I'm like incarcerated. Like I feel like I can't move. Like I'm immobilized completely.
What is the emotion that comes up with that, Alicia?
Hopelessness, helplessness, despair, just desolation, just like, yeah.
Is there any awareness of any of the other papers, or are you just aware of the paper you're on? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Come have a seat, hun. I'm going to tell you what I did, and then we'll do part 2. You are such a trooper.
My goodness. Thank you, everyone, for.
It's a wild ride. Family Constellation Therapy is a wild ride.
Journey.
It's a journey. Yeah. Okay. So the cool thing about the morphogenic field is you can, again, I don't know if other practitioners do this, but I do this. You can open it with intention. So I always open it with, I'm very intentional in my work. And so I opened it with the intention of anyone who comes across this, if it's today, tomorrow, 20 years from now, really steps into the space of unity within themselves and really comes home to themselves and then has unity in their environment. So in terms of the placement of the papers, it's really interesting. So like if somebody were to come see me their first constellation, I would really pay attention to the placement of the papers, where you go first, second, third, fourth, that kind of thing. So it shows me on an energetic level what's kinked. And so at the top of the constellation, we have 1 and 4. So 4 shows up in the masculine, 1 shows up in the feminine. So 1 is the unity of self, the unity of source, and really coming home, and really coming home to self, and then that being unified in the world. What that is partnered up with is number 4, which is your galactic ancestral lineage and any traumas that are preventing that unity from happening. So what is behind number 1? So it's almost like a parent. Number 3 and number 2 are partnered up. So 1 and 4 kind of show up as husband and wife. 3 and 2 show up as partners. So 3 is separation consciousness, any traumas, and kind of the state of the world in which it is now. What that's partnered up with is our earth ancestral lineage, our bloodline lineage, and the traumas that are preventing us from moving forward into unity. So it's not lost on me that separation is highly, highly, highly connected to ancestral, and your ancestral lineage is facing your galactic lineage, which is really leading the way. It's just beautiful. So you chose unity of self and source and coming home and really just unifying the world. I know. I love that your people showed up in front. I love it. Because they are helping us, right? They're helping us, and they're helping. It's a painful as fuck process, but like they are helping to excavate all this really gnarly stuff so that we can be free. So when you stood on the unity paper, you started going in a circle pretty immediately. So in my work, the circle is a lot of over responsibility. It's basically just trauma that's been passed down. So it's almost like I can't come into that wholeness because I'm just used to like spinning. You got a little dizzy, a little whirly, a little lightheaded. So that is typically when there is still trauma in the body that is stuck. You felt pretty light though. You said you were doing this kind of like sway side to side. It felt hips and low back felt heavy and tight. And so in my work, that area of the body, the womb area of the body, they call it the ancestral belt. So trauma that hasn't been processed out within your bloodline. I'd be curious in terms of galactic where that shows up, but it will always show up there. And so low back, not feeling supported, root chakra, a lot of safety, security, stability stuff. Shoulder, chest, and heart, you said felt like it was being pulled down. So in my work, that is typically tied to early loss. So anybody that died 55 and under, the weight of that will pull. Emotionally, you said, I'm not really feeling anything. It just kind of felt like a void, which I know, I mean, I can speak for myself. I feel like I have felt the void in the last couple of weeks. So that seems really timely where we're at. When you looked at the galactic lineage, you said you immediately felt a shift in your heart. You said there's a lot of emotion. It feels like a lot of love, a lot of openness, a lot of expansive love that I'm feeling. When you looked at 3, which was separation and just the divisive crap that we're in right now, collectively, you were like, I don't want to look at it. It feels creepy. It feels like spiders, which I think is interesting because they're a totem for power. And the feminine. So, I mean, I feel like there's a message in that, but you physically couldn't face it. Your body just kept pulling you away and you kept turning away. And then when you looked at the earth, you said in the ancestral lineage, you said, I just have a curiosity. It feels serene, peacefulness, but your body went in little circles. So there's still stuff that we're cleaning up, which we know. So you went from unity to ancestral lineage and trauma. So that just, and I've seen this a lot lately. I've been telling people for years, I just kept getting the hit from like 2017 to now of like the ancestral piece is the last piece, right? Like, and that's the piece nobody wants to look at and nobody really consciously thought of. And so now it's really coming up for people. So
Mm-hmm.
that really coming up for people. So what your ancestors were facing the galactic family and unity, which is really beautiful, but they were partnered up with separation. So there's still that consciousness, but you were immediately pulled forward towards the galactic lineage. And then I said to just take a step towards them. And so you took it, because movement in family constellation therapy is a really big deal. And it movement that you guys can take without me facilitating it. So you took a step forward and then you said, whoa, I just sunk into a very balanced space. I'm seeing lights and circles. It looks like sacred geometry. I feel solid now. I feel stable. I feel closer to my galactic family. I feel balanced and grounded. Heightened sense of smell, heightened sensitivity here. Like, it stabilized you immediately. Like, immediately. It's funny, it looked like it kind of knocked the wind out of you a little bit because it was probably so different from what you were standing on.
Wow.
Yeah.
I find that really interesting, that the in-between space of the human Earth lineage and the galactic lineage, there is that equilibrium that heightens everything. Yeah. That's really curious.
And it's not lost on me that taking a step towards origination, right? Like,
Yeah.
that brought in balance, because again, I mean, I feel like we're just like these little whirling dervishes right now, and everybody's just spinning and trying to figure this shit out. And so that feels really powerful to me. It's like, keep, whether you know what that source is, it's like, keep going in that movement forward.
Thank you.
So after Earth lineage and ancestors, you had 3 and 4 left. So you had galactic and separation, and you did not want to go to number 3. You just how much you didn't want to go to number 3, which that happens in the field a lot. Like, kind of the paper that holds the most trauma, you will literally have an aversion to it, and sometimes people actually physically cannot stand on the paper. So you went to number 4, which was the galactic ancestral lineage and anything that's impeding that healing. So that was in the front, leading the way. And it was funny, you were like, and I said, what came up? And you said, I feel in peace, I feel in bliss, comfort, I feel like I'm being held. You crossed your arms over your chest and you said, I keep hearing nothing can touch you. Ultimate safety, protection, love, etheric wings wrapped around us, held in safe space, moving forward and backwards. So in my work, the forward back is like really wanting to move forward, but getting pulled back. So the fact that ancestral lineage is pulled behind them, there's just trauma that we're still cleaning up. But you felt a little tremors in legs, quads down, chest and arms. Sometimes that can happen, obviously, as you're ascending, but it can also happen when trauma is leaving the body. And so I always tell people, be really careful doing this work. It's really, really deep, and stick close to practitioners, therapists, healers, grounded people that can help if you get into trouble. So this was interesting to me though, when I'm really curious your thoughts on this. So when you faced number 1, which was unity and coming home and like unifying ourselves with source, and then having that ricochet out into our environment, you were like, yeah, no. You said it feels like a dismissal. It's funny, I heard distrust. Before you told me dismissal, I heard distrust, which I'm sure that I would imagine. I mean, do you want to speak on that? I'm imagining that there would be a little hesitation.
That's really interesting. So many things come to mind for me. Can you continue what I said in that, just so I can?
Yeah, that's all you said. We're just like, no, dismissal. Don't. You just kept going like this, of like, no, I'm not going there.
I mean, that could be interpreted in so many different ways, but the higher thing that comes to mind for me is like, from a galactic perspective, what we're trying to achieve on a planetary level, within unity and healing, and healing separation on a galactic level, depending on how high up you go. And I'm not discrediting that there is separation on some, planets and, races and things like that. But I think with the origins of where my people come from, unity is like, there is, like, it's not even a thing, because it just exists. it's not something that strive for or work for, or at least it was accomplished millennia ago. So
Yeah.
from, I think my interpretation from standing from that perspective is like
Interesting. Yeah, that makes sense.
I don't know,
do,
that's, you might have a different take on it, but
no, I do think there's something that needs to clear though. And so again, galactic wars, whatever, it does feel like
thank you.
There's like a distrust that
When you word distrust, what comes to mind for me is I think that this has been attempted many times and not gone right. And so it's like, I think the distrust for a lot of people with the galactics is because the trauma around the misuse that has been done on those higher levels, and that would have been under the pretense of love or unity or whatever in past experiences where it then has gone wrong. So
so then you looked at ancestors and earth lineage, and you said you felt like a curious observer, which I think is funny because that's what the galactics said too. Like yeah, I love it. So everyone's looking at earth and was like, yeah. And then when you looked at number 3, which was all the separation stuff, you were like, well, I just don't want to go there. And then you said, I don't want to stand on it. Don't make me stand on it. So I made you stand on it. Your eyes were, it's funny, your eyes were like really shut tight. And so oftentimes in the field, you physically will not be able to open your eyes. Some people have fight me and they're like, oh, this is how I like connect or whatever. And I'm like, I've seen it where you physically can't open your eyes. And so you had tears immediately and you were moving forward and backwards. And I said, what's coming up with the emotion? And you said, I feel isolated. I feel enslaved. My body is frozen. I can't move. I'm frozen all over. I'm clutching the top of my pants. I have a very big clenched fist. I feel incarcerated. Emotionally, I feel helplessness, hopelessness, and despair. It's probably about right. Yeah. Bananas.
That is wild.
So bananas. Okay, so now what we are going to do, my friends, we are going to move all the papers around and then we're going to do the talking part. We're almost done. So it's going to take me just 1 second to see how they want me to set this up.
Thank you for everyone who's following at home. I hope that this has been an insightful experience, whether you're participating or watching me volunteer to go through this. And of course, if you find this work, interesting or powerful or feel called to it, I will link where you can connect with Karie and schedule an individual session or, reach out to her in that way.
Okay, my love. So now what we're going to do, we're going to make like a little cross. So I'm going to have you put 1 on the top. So like 12 o'clock on a clock will be number 1.
Yep.
Okay. And then behind, so respectively, Alicia, like 3 and 9, I'm going to have you put 4 at 3 and then 2 at 9, but I need you to put them close enough where I'm going to have you put 1 foot on one and 1 foot on the other. So if you're looking at number 1, 4 will be on the right hand side behind number 1.
Yep.
And then 2 will be to the left of number 4.
Oh, sorry. Say that again. 2.
So at 12 o'clock on the clock will be number 1.
Yep.
Okay, 3 o'clock will be number 4.
All right. Yep.
So 12, 3. 9 o'clock will be number 2. I just need you to put them close enough to where you can put 1.
Oh, right. Yep. Sorry.
And then at 6 o'clock, put number 3.
Yes. Got it.
Okay, perfect. So now what I'm going to have you do, hun, is stand back on number 1. Actually, scratch that, Alicia. Put your left foot on 2 and your right foot on 4. I don't normally do this, but I'm going to have you just kind of straddle galactic and ancestral and face number 1. And just tell me how that feels.
I feel pulled.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
Yeah. Almost like I'm about to jump off a cliff or fly.
Yeah. Does that feel okay? Is there any tightness, any
head hurts a little?
Yeah. It's probably a lot of energy, I would imagine. Yeah.
I feel like rocking my hips like back side to side, kind of.
Yeah. Okay.
This
So
is
now,
my stance.
oh my God, I love it. Okay, so now what I'm gonna have you do is just put both feet on number 2 and face number 4. You can either face it directly or you can just look at it with your eyes.
Yeah.
And we're gonna do the talking part. So you're just gonna repeat after me. We're gonna just say short, choppy little sentences. Say, dear galactic family,
Dear galactic family,
I honor you.
I honor you.
Thank you for bathing us in light.
Thank you for bathing us in light.
Thank you for keeping us safe.
Thank you for keeping us safe.
Thank you for wrapping your wings around all of us.
Thank you for wrapping your wings around all of us.
Balancing and grounding us into our hearts.
Balancing and grounding us into our hearts.
And walking us home.
And walking us home.
We know this has been attempted.
We know that this has been attempted
many times before.
Many times before.
I know that some of you may not believe that we will achieve unity.
May not believe that we will achieve unity.
I know that some of you already know that it's done. We are facing the harshest of truths.
We are facing the harshest of truths.
Traumas that go back throughout our bloodline.
Traumas that go back throughout our bloodline.
The separation and divisiveness.
Separation and divisiveness.
It has been overwhelming for us.
It has been overwhelming for us.
To know that you are leading the way.
To know that you're leading the way.
Already partnered in unity.
Already partnered in unity.
Brings us so much peace.
Brings us so much peace.
We are starting to remember who we are.
We are starting to remember who we are.
We are not isolated.
We are not isolated.
We are no longer willing to be enslaved.
We're no longer willing to be enslaved.
Held captive in the 3D.
Held captive in the 3D.
With your strength and determination.
With your strength and determination.
Your deep and profound love.
Your deep and profound love.
We are coming into union.
We are coming into union.
Within our lineage.
Within our lineage.
Within our galactic families.
Within our galactic families.
Within source.
Within source.
Thank you for holding our hands.
Thank you for holding our hands.
Thank you for reminding us that we are brave.
Thank you for reminding us that we are brave.
To walk this path home to ourselves.
To walk this path home to ourselves.
And to each other.
And to each other.
We will always look kindly on you.
We will always look kindly on you.
And we ask that you look kindly on us too.
And we ask that you look kindly on us too.
Okay, so just take a little deep, like a little bow to them. And let's see how your body feels. My eyes were shut. How was that?
Oh my God, that was powerful.
You're gonna be so tired, Alicia.
I am gonna completely wipe out on the couch for the rest of the afternoon.
Yeah.
Thank you for this work. This is.
Gosh, you're welcome. Yeah. How does your body feel, hon?
I feel good. I feel emotional, but in a good way. Yeah.
Okay. So we're almost done. Stand on number 1. Step forward onto 1, and it should feel way different.
Whoa, sorry, I'm just readjusting lighting here.
Oh my gosh, you look like an angel. There are like halos around your head. I love it. Love it.
I have real Christ energy running through me right now.
You look like it.
I can't put my hands down.
Okay. So just look over your shoulder at number 2, if you can, and say, "Dear ancestors,
Dear ancestors,
all of those who walked before me,
all of those who walked before me,
all those who felt isolated and enslaved,
all those who felt isolated and enslaved,
frozen by survival,
frozen by survival,
frozen by trauma,
frozen by trauma,
frozen by pain,
frozen by pain,
I honor you.
I honor you.
You all suffered a difficult fate.
You all suffered a difficult fate.
You've gone through so much
You've gone through so much
so that we don't have to.
so that we don't have to.
No one witnessed your pain.
No one witnessed your pain.
No one witnessed your sadness.
No one witnessed your sadness.
Some of you lost your lives.
Some of you lost your lives.
You lost your children.
You lost your children.
You went to war.
You went to war.
You lost your homes.
You lost your homes.
You were enveloped in despair,
You were enveloped in despair,
helplessness, and hopelessness.
helplessness and hopelessness.
And you got stuck there.
And you got stuck there.
And that pain got passed down
And that pain got passed down
again and again.
again and again.
Our world is waking up.
Our world is waking up.
And we are finally seeing you.
And we're finally seeing you
And becoming witnesses to all you went through.
and becoming witnesses to all you went through.
And with the love and support of our galactic families,
With the love and support of our galactic families,
we are healing deep core wounds.
we're healing deep core wounds.
We're preventing that pain
We're preventing that pain
from pouring into future generations.
from pouring into future generations.
And we are sending our deep gratitude
And we are sending our deep gratitude
and our profound love
and our profound love
to all of you.
to all of you.
We are so grateful
We are so grateful
for the gift of your struggle.
for the gift of your struggle.
You have gone through so much
You have gone through so much
so that we don't have to.
that we don't have to.
As your humble ancestor,
As your humble ancestor,
I need to ask for your permission
I need to ask for your permission
to wildly surpass you
to wildly surpass
in health and in happiness,
in health and in happiness,
in love and in wealth,
in love and in wealth,
knowing we will honor you
knowing that we will honor you,
and we will take forward with us
take forward with us
the very best parts of you.
the very best parts of you.
So turn around. You have hella people in your living room, girl. A lot of energy in your space. Yeah. And then just take one more little step towards me. You probably don't have any room. It's okay. So just kind of stay there for a second and just see how your body feels. It should feel different.
Feel light.
Yeah.
I'll just wipe my panda eyes. I feel light. I feel liberated, free.
Anything rocking forward, back, side to side, little circle?
No, I'm moving my knees, like
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So
bending my knees, sorry.
yeah. I
Use
felt like you. I have like a shorthand with the field because I'm in it all day, every day. So okay, come have a seat, hun. I'm gonna tell everyone, give them a little homework, and then we are done.
Can I sit on one?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. That's actually really good. So what this does is it creates what they call a new internal image. So instead of, you know, especially our ancestors being partnered up with separation and pain and trauma, it really gets everybody in their proper place. And so God, Wonder Woman, whatever you believe in, creates your family line, gives all of that love and life force energy to the front, and then everyone is supposed to fill up and then pass it forward. So obviously, historically, that has not happened. So that's how those hoses get kinked and kinked and kinked. And so FCT, what it does is it goes to the heart of those traumas. Each time you do it, unkinks the hose. They call it orders of love, which I think is really beautiful. Gets all of that love and all of that flow pouring into the back of you. So the simple fact that many of us have probably, I mean, I have felt alone my entire life. Like, I know you and I have talked about this a lot. So the first couple of times I did constellation therapy, feeling that level of love whacked out my body a bit. And so I always tell people slow and steady. So for 24 to 48 hours after, as Alicia and I mentioned before, you can feel hungover. You can feel really tired. Even just watching it, you can feel really emotional and not know why. Just the more you turn your brain off, the easier it will be. Eat extra protein, whatever your protein source is, root vegetables, anything, any grounding food. Drink water like it's your job. I also tell people, yeah, salt baths, rain, beach, like just water, showers, water. My clients tease me. I'm going to put this on a t-shirt. I always tell them to don't be around any jerky people. Like, just don't be around any jerky people for a day or two because you're going to feel pretty sensitive. And then for 2 weeks, they say you have to do a meditation for like a minute. I always tell people really shoot for at least like 3 days. So what you're basically doing is integrating this last imprint. So it's galactic and ancestral lineage walking side by side towards unity, kind of all the shit behind you. Yeah. And so it's like really being partnered up with, again, whatever your source lineage is, really being that partnered up with your ancestral lineage and moving towards unity. I always encourage people, keep your papers. They're really activated from being in the morphogenic field. You don't have to, but I find it's just easier. And really stand on number one and just feel all of that love and support, and your body will rock. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to do anything. Your body will rock. If it rocks, just keep stepping forward. So if you place your papers, don't put yourself in front of a wall or a table or anything. Give yourself at least a couple feet to move forward. I like to do them outside sometimes when you have, like, especially if you have felt trapped or enslaved or isolated. It's like doing them in nature is really, doing the meditation in nature is really, really, really powerful. You did it.
Oh my goodness, Karie, I honestly don't have words for you and your work and what just happened right now. I'm definitely going to have to take some time to process that. I just want to thank you so much. First of all, thank you for everyone watching and participating, because the more that we do this as a group effort, as a collective level, that's how we shift this entire planet and bring back wholeness and unity. So thank you everyone for watching and participating. And Karie, your gift to humanity, I just can't thank you enough. The amazing work that you have done tirelessly for, I want to say decades, but I also want to say eons, because your soul is so old and epic. And I probably should have put this disclaimer in the beginning, but, you know, some people don't resonate with galactic lineage because that's not their soul's expression. Use this as wherever your soul origin, I can't even talk, originates from, you know, and that could be Christ consciousness, that could be angelic. It comes in, it could be source creation itself. You know, we all have different expressions of that. So I just want to encompass that. And I just want to, like, give you the most heartfelt gratitude just for everything, and so much love for you. So
Oh, thank you. I'm so happy I got to do this with you. You know how much I love you, and your work is you're extraordinary. You're such an inspiration. There have been days, weeks, months, I'm not gonna lie, on my journey where I'm like, Alicia, I can't keep going. And it's like I see your face and I'm like, oh yeah, we are here to like really unify and to bring peace and love and healing. And yeah, so just keep going, you guys. Just keep going.
yeah, take that from both of us. And you know what? We tag team it. There's times that you've done that for me too. You know, you've had me on the other end of those SOS calls. So, you know, we all go through it. It doesn't matter whether you've been a practitioner for, you know, decades. Like, we're all going through this together, and we're here just supporting one another in our unique expressions of that and expressions of ourselves. Million blessings, and thank you to you, Karie, and thank you everyone for watching, and I hope that you've enjoyed this. Once again, if you want to connect with Karie, I will provide all the details, and thank you for joining in part of World Unity Week. Bye.
Thank you.